Forever in your arms I'll stay tonight, underneath the stars in silver light. Oh baby, hold me close, don't let it in. Love will find a way again and again.
Today, we're going to make an AI music generator so you can finally hit notes just like this and without, having to sing yourself because that would be terrible and it would hurt our ears. But now we're going to make an AI SaaS very simple using NoCode that will allow your users or you to generate, AI music like Suno. So we'll be competing against Suno using NoCode. So let's get right started with that. So the mission for today is building something like Suno using no-code tools. And I want to walk you through the tech stack that we're going to use today to set this up. So first of all, we want to kind of like get access to Suno, but using a backdoor, meaning an API, because we can't just have our users log into Suno to generate our music, right? We want them to be in our application. So for that, we need something called an API. It's an application programming interface. So that is basically a way how you can access Suno technology without going on their interface, without going to their front end. You can contact the Suno server, pay a little bit for that, and Suno is going to give you like a white label response, if you want to call it that way, right? So it lets you white label existing technology, and that is something interesting that if you're going to build a SaaS that you can tap into, you don't have to build the core technology yourself. You can use technology from Suno and white label that, improve the experience around it, and build your own SaaS around it. There are a lot of APIs, there are a lot of companies that provide those kinds of access, and one of them is Go API. I'm not getting any sponsorship to talk about that. I just used them for a project in the past. They're the best. They are pretty reliable for the kind of sketchy stuff they're doing. By the way, this video is only for educational purposes, because what they do is you pay for Suno, right? And they give you access to that. But Suno doesn't have an official API, such as Udio has. They don't have one as well. Midjourney doesn't have an API. And their business is giving you access to the Midjourney API, giving you access to the Suno API. I don't know how they do it, but it works and their service is pretty reliable. So today, for educational purposes, we want to use that API, and they got great customer support on Discord, and that's maybe something you want to take a look at. So the cool thing here is I already have an account and I just put $10 on there, right? So as we can see, we got the song API and we have U for Udio, or I don't know how you pronounce that thing. That is like the one that knocks off Ariana Grande and all those other famous musicians. That was like they got the big lawsuit. You may don't want to use that. Suno is a little bit more subtle. While they still got a lawsuit, they are not knocking off the songs one to one. They take more inspiration from it. But Udio, or however you pronounce that, they just take the artists' voices and put them in your songs. They just don't do the style. They do the whole thing. Which is a little bit controversial. So it depends on what you want to associate yourself with. This is just for educational purposes today. This is a YouTube channel teaching you how to learn programming, and I think learning programming is way more fun doing real life projects such as this. So let's take a look at how this kind of thing works. So we have their interface, but we want to get access to the back door. So we'll need to use their API. And they do have something called API documentation here, and that looks like a lot of code and complicated, but we'll piece that together. So we have their API, we have the Suno server, right? And we have the service to access that, and we want to build the front end now, the UI, where people do the inputs. For that, we're going to use the hottest new JavaScript framework out there called Toddle.dev. It's Toddle.js. It's a JavaScript framework that right now their website isn't loading. That's how you know it's a good JavaScript framework, by the way. They got terrible websites. But if you go here to Toddle, let's see if their website opens now. If I open it from the Chrome extension, Here you go. So what it is a visual web framework. So it's like React, it's like Next.js, with the benefit that you have it open source and you have a visual way of setting up things, which is pretty nice. It's going to make it way simpler. This is how you would write the code. This is how it looks in total, and it basically is a code generation tool using their own framework, which is more lightweight than jQuery, by the way. And 40% of the internet is using jQuery. There you go. So we're going to use Total.js for that. Now, we need a server. For that, we're going to use the fastest NoCode backend. Such thing exists, yes. And that's called Suno. Suno gives us an API builder. That is actually what we need for this, because we need to talk to our server. So if you've ever worked with Zapier or Make, that is basically what Suno is, just for bigger scale. So because with Zapier and Make it's very expensive, with Suno it's very cheap to run those things because you have your own server and they give you a no-code interface to do things on that server and set things up, which is pretty nice. So that is Suno, and I already have an account set up for that, and we'll be using that today. So that's basically it. And now we kind of like want to start the setup on our server first, so we have access to those APIs, and we want to build our own API so our app can talk to our server to then generate that, because we don't want to have it talk directly to the Suno API, because that could impose security threats to our API key and make that accessible for people who could misuse that, right? Because it does have access to our credit card, because nothing is free. So the idea is we want to build an API today to proxy those things. So let's call that Suno, and we're going to save that here. And now we're going to add an API endpoint, and I'm going to do a custom endpoint, and we're going to make this a post endpoint. And I will call that generate. There you go. We don't need authentication for that. If you want your users to log in, you may want to add authentication to that endpoint so you can use up their credits from their account. But that is something that we focus more inside of my community, nocodeprocode.com, and making sure that those setups are all properly set up. But there you go. So there are a few parameters that want to go into our API here. So let's take a look what Suno needs, right? We have lyrics, right? We have song description. That makes sense. And then we have a title, and we have tags, and we have negative tags. And then we can use a seed, but we don't need to use a seed. So we kind of like want to put that inside of here as well. So we want to go inside of here. We wanted to start with title, right? And let's make that required. Title. Now we want to go with lyrics. We'll make that required. Oh, that was slow today. Let's reload that. That's the thing. If you got bad internet, building a web application gets a little bit harder. Let's see if I can quit some applications. And my computer is freezing. Oh, damn it. Oh, it's Discord. More than likely it's Discord. And Xcode. Yeah, let's get rid of Suno and Xcode. Here you go. Zoom. It's basically everything that makes your computer slow. I have that open just in the background while making a video. There you go. So now it should reload a little bit faster. We'll see. There you go. That's improvement. Now I'm looking at a dark screen. Oh, now it's loading. That looks good. Here you go. So we got lyrics, right? I want to put keywords inside of here. Or what was it? It wasn't keywords. It was title tags, right? Tags, and I can add negative tags. That's cool too. Song description. Title tags, negative tags is not required. So let's just add the things actually that's required. So we'll do description. That's lyric type, custom lyrics. We can do, let's generate lyrics, right? That's what we do. And then if I do custom lyrics, I would have that. But I just want to have let's do automated lyrics for this one. So I can put a prompt in there and it automatically gets the mood. And there we go. So let's go back to our API and let's actually call that description. I can just paste it actually. Here you go. Description required. So we have, and then we don't even need a title for that, right? We can just auto-generate something, or just, we don't really need that. So we have a description and it will generate a song, right? And that description can include the genre, the type, what it's about, and then it automatically will do that. So that's cool. Now I want to make an external API call, external API request to the Suno API. For that, we're going to use curl, curl, and I want to import a curl command inside of Xano. If you take a look at their documentation page, right, you'll see that if you scroll down, we have something called shell here. If I click on shell, we will get a curl command. That is kind of like how that works. It takes a little bit because I got bad internet, so how about we try reloading their page and we'll try the generation again. So inside of here, we'll take a look at that here. Okay, perfect. And we kind of like want to set, can we set those things up? Or no, they won't let us do that. Let's see. For different examples, they have some example documentation. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, we don't need that. We can just do that ourselves then. Interesting, they don't have like a configurator. I cannot set that up. I can just copy that thing. Okay, so there you go. We have generate music, and then I have a GPT description prompt, and then I have negative tags, and then I have lyric type instrumental, right? We don't really want to have that instrumental, so we'll take a look at that. We have lyric type, we have generate, right? And then we have number, so we kind of like want to edit the curl. Let's just pull, I don't know, JSON formatter real quick up, just so that I can drop that somewhere. There you go. Oh, my internet is slow today. There you go. We'll paste that inside of here. And description, task type, generate music, and then we'll just go step by step through the curl. So how about we move that here, right? And we'll close the dashboard, and we'll take the generator next to it. So now we can kind of like build our curl command. So in here we see we got model. We want to use Suno. Then I have task type, generate music. They don't really, what's the description? I can't. Generate music custom. That's a good question. Let's see, can we generate code? What's doing that? They have terrible documentation. Oh, what's that? Now it opens some AI thing? What? Let's go here, shell, JavaScript, shell, curl, as not even usable. What is, okay. Interesting. Can click really something in here. So let's just look at their examples. Maybe they have something usable. Let's go here. Where did their examples go? Oh, there was their example. It's a combination of bad documentation and bad internet. I want Suno, yes. So example of description mode. GPT description, night breeze, make instrumental false. Service mode, public, webhook, config, and then I do endpoint, right? Generate body request with custom mode. I can put my prompt in here. That's verse, and then I kind of like can put the name, night breeze, tags, negative tags, public. So we got two modes. I kind of like want to use the automated mode. So what we want to do is we want to go, you see this thing, this object inside of here? We want to delete that and paste that inside of here. Let's double check. Yeah, that should be it. So we want to have that in here. We got music s, generate music. And then I can do like modern pop song about Toddle, the NoCode tool, right? Make instrumental false, right? And then we do service mode public, endpoint, and secret. So we can actually send that to an API, which is quite cool. So we can go to, because when we get a response from it, we will need to have a different endpoint actually fetching the response because it takes long, and then we want to send that to the front end. So that involves us using WebSockets, which is something we can take a look at. For now, I'm just going to leave it blank. So let's copy this curl, and what I can do is I can just put this in Xano and I can import. And now as you can see, it did set up everything autonomously. I don't have to do that manually, which is quite nice. But it doesn't give me authorization header. So we need to have the authorization header, because otherwise, create task here, we need to put our API key, otherwise they can't charge us. So that we got the request body, that's nice, but we will need to have authorization. Their documentation doesn't show us how to authenticate. So let's take a look at getting started. And let's see. Let's take a look. Authentication, authorization. Let's do API key, because we'll need to put the API key somewhere, right? So let's take a look. Maybe they have some better examples here for their other APIs, because they're probably are all the same. Or let's take a look at their examples. No, they don't give us full curl examples. Let's take a look at some of their other APIs here. Usually those APIs are pretty bad documented. Let's take a look. We got enum, model, type, webhook, config. That's good. Seed, title, make instrumental. If we do this in JavaScript, will it give us... No, it doesn't give us the authentication headers. I assume they're using basic auth, just usually bearer token. So we can try that. They could use custom token. We'll see. We'll see. Let's go back to their dashboard here. Going to their dashboard right now. They also have like APIs for virtual try-on videos. Pretty cool, right? But I do have my API key. I can copy my API key. That's how I'm getting charged and how I can access that API. So we'll go back to Xano and we'll put the API key inside of here. Now, usually, they don't give us documentation how to add that. It's usually authorization. And then I do bearer. And then I do the API key, actually. Authorization bearer. We'll update that. And then I may want to give it a 20-second timeout. And let's see what that API is telling us. We can just run that on our server. We need to put anything in there. The values are not dynamic yet. The good thing is it's already taking over 4 seconds. That usually is a sign that it is working. No, missing parameter description. That just means my computer is slow, and because it's a required input, so actually we do need to put something in there. So we do invalid API key, yes. I assumed that we will get this because they don't have documentation. I assume that's supposed to be the thing we should put in the header. We'll try that. Let's try removing bearer. And let's try putting X API key as the header inside of here. And we'll run that again. So sometimes you have to be, no, it still says invalid API key. X API key, make instrumental state. I hope they don't put it in the body. I have my API key here. Interesting. So that's fun. I have header, it says header at the header X API key. And it gives me that. So let's take a look here, probably somewhere in my profile, right? Let me have my API key, settings, API keys, right? There you go. They say it's X API key, so it should be push colon, and it may be bearer. I don't think so, but bearer X API key usually doesn't have bearer, but let's reset the API key just so that we can try it. Let's copy the new one. Let's put it inside of here. It shouldn't be with bearer, right? But we'll try. Yeah, it still says invalid API key. And maybe because we are using bearer, it's maybe also the space. That could be. Shouldn't be, but it could be. We'll try that again. That was successful. So it was the space. There you go. So we do have that request now. And we see it is pending, it's generating. And how that AI API works is it wants us to put another webhook, another API inside of there that it can call with the song once it's finished. So let's just publish this for now that we got it working. And we want to generate a new API called ping, right? So we get the ping from the server back. If you want to be more professional, you can also call it authorization or a notification or something, or callback. I'm just going to call it ping. And then inside of here, we just want to add a webhook receiver. We can just do get all raw input from a webhook. We'll define that as webhook. And then we'll just have the API return the webhook data. We want to publish that API, copy the API URL, go to our generate endpoint, go inside of the API request inside of here. On the endpoint parameter, I'm going to put my API inside of here. Secret, I'm going to generate a random UUID to have that secure, right? So I'm just going to put a UUID inside of here so I can send that to my server. You can validate that if you want. So now I'm going to publish that. And now when I run this API, right, and we still need to make the data dynamic and all that stuff. But now if I run this API, we will see it is a success. It was generated, right? We're using Suno. We see the tokens. We see that, you know, we got all that thing set up. So now we want to go a step back and want to take a look in the request history of the ping endpoint, because we will be receiving the response to the AI generation inside of Suno in this different endpoint. That's usually how those AI APIs do it, because they are going to time out after 30 seconds. So they don't want you to generate it and then just return it to the front end like ChatGPT. They're fast. They take 10 seconds, 3 seconds. Those can take up to 3 minutes to generate. So because it is longer, the browser can't handle it. So they want you to process that kind of like asynchronously. So the idea is that you're going to work with WebSockets and you're going to send the API. The API will start that process using a post process, and then it will going to ping you back, and when it does the ping back, you will return that to the front end with the ping. So we can see we got a ping, and now if I take a look at input here, you will see under data, we will get input, config, output. We want to take a look at output, and in output, we see 2 clips here. We can expand the first clip. We see it's currently streaming, right? NoCode Revolution. In metadata, I'm seeing the verse that it generated, and I do have an audio URL inside of here that is a stream. So right now it's streaming, so it's actually coming in real time. So we'll listen.
Titles like magic make dreams come true. No code needed, just click and brew. Build all the fancy, no need for code. Toddles the compass, find any road. In the digital jungle, it's a breeze. Toddle makes pathways with just a squeeze. Drag and drop wonder.
There you go. So we got it working. So now we got that, and we'll see there will be a new event coming in, like in here, where you can see that it's not streaming anymore. So I go on output here. First, if I go on meta, usage no. If I go on clips, and if I extend on clips, you'll see that it is complete. And then if I go inside of here, right, I get the audio URL, and that comes from the CDN. So that's actually the finished one, right? It takes a little bit more, but that is actually the finished one, right? So you don't want to give the user the streaming one unless you want to have real-time streaming, because they won't be able to download the streaming one. But now I got a song. There you go. It's a cool song. There you go. So that's basically it. That's how we generate that stuff. We got that web hook coming back. Now we want to kind of like start incorporating that to make it a little bit more dynamic. So the prompt that we have inside of here that's generating it, right? We want to go on run inside of here, and that should come from our API input. Think of it like a form. So we want to make that dynamic. So I go to GPT description prompt, and we want to take the input of description and make that dynamic. Then we got public, secret. Actually, we probably want to do service mode private, because it's going to then be publicly available on Suno. We may not want to do that with our users kind of IP. So we want to reload that, see if it still works. That's fine. And we usually don't want to, when this is successful, we want to show a success. So what we're going to do is we're just going to return in this API just the word success for reference. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add a precondition. So if that API fails, we're going to get an error message sent to the front end. So the user is not waiting for something that was never generated. So we'll take API 1, we'll paste the payload inside of here, and then we'll take status needs to equal 200. And if not, we're going to show an error message. Service is temporary unavailable. Service is temporary unavailable, right? Access denied. There you go. So now if there is an error, it's going to show an error message in that API request. Now create another one. So now we're creating those generations, right? That's cool. Now what we need to do is we're getting those pings back, right? And what we want to do is we kind of want to then show that back on the front end. So I have to say it gets a little bit more, not really complicated, it gets a little bit more tricky, because if you have multiple users on this application and you will be start using WebSockets, right? What is going to happen here is you want to show the response only to the user that generated it. Right now, there is only one user, and this is just an example. So I'm not going to add authentication, but I want to mention that if you do this in production, you want to be able to receive an authorization header. You want to have your own authentication system set up, get the user's ID, add that thing to your database in a queue database, kind of like, with their ID, and then you want to send, when that generation was done, you want to take the generation task ID that is associated to the task, right, that we're getting back in the payload, and kind of like attach it to that generation that's pending, and then when it is successful, update that in your database, and then send the WebSocket back to the user, to the front end from that, so it isn't their dashboard. Now we're not going to do that today, because that is going to be a 35-hour video, and we don't have the time for that on YouTube, but we do have on NoCodeProCode.com. Got the advertisement in there, right? So we got the description, we got a cool little funny generator, modern pop song about Toddle, the no-code tool. Now it's going to kick that off. So we'll do one thing, we'll already start setting that up on the front end. Wrong project. Now I want to kind of like make an AI song generator. So in here, I'm going to add a form. There you go. In that form, we're going to add a text area. Beautiful. And then under that text area, we're going to add an input, there you go, of genres, or No, we can just have a text area. We'll simplify the thing. And then we'll add a button. So very simple. They can make a prompt and then they can submit it. So we'll do 100% width, height 3 rem. There you go. We'll center that. And then we're going to make 8 pixels rounded borders. We're going to make the color purple 700. There you go. We're going to add a shadow to it. That will be white. And it is going to be way more transparent than that. There you go. Now we're going to take the text area. We'll be making that 8 pixels. We're going to add custom CSS, resize none, so the user can't resize it because I don't like that little tick down there. We're going to go to the form. We'll make that 1 rem, so we have some space. Oh, that's too much. 0.5 rem. There you go. Now I want to give the side padding 1 rem and 1 rem for the input. And there you go. That looks beautiful. And now we have that form to generate. And then I want to go inside of your text, generate. There we go. Generate song. Beautiful. So now we have the generate song inside of here. And then we got the form. So I just want to wrap the form in an element in a div block. And I want to give it a 1 rem side padding, or let's do 0.5 rem side padding, 0.5 rem side padding. And we're going to give it a background of gray 800. No, that's too much. A little bit. Should have a little bit of a different color. Actually, how about we make that thing pitch black? Then we're going to make that thing a little bit lighter. There you go. Beautiful. So now we can give it a border of 15 pixels. We're going to give it an outline. There you go. Outline all of 800. There you go. Or maybe we can make it a little bit more standing out. We got 700 here. Should be in the middle. Should be 750. There you go. That's beautiful. Now we got that nice UI inside of here. So what we want to do is that we have that now set up. We want to paste our API URL from our backend. So I copy the generate endpoint. I'm going wrong project. I want to go inside of my API here. I want to paste the URL. I want to click on continue. I want to go on post. I'm going to call that generate. There you go. Generate. And I'm going to add a parameter to this. That's going to be description. Oh, that is not the word description. Description. There you go. Now we need to create a variable to call description. Description. And we're going to start that empty. I go to that text area, bind it to my variable. So when I type inside of here, total love, I will see that I have that in my variable. So now what I want to do is I want to go to that generate API, go to my description parameter, and go inside of here and feed the prompt total love inside of here. So now we're sending that parameter, as you can see, to our server with this input that gets fed through this process here, right? So, wrong project. Thank God I don't sign NDAs with clients. There you go. Inside of here, I got a description. And now if I would submit that, I would be making the API call. So we don't have any authorization, so there's no authentication header needed to be put inside of here. So now we're generating that. So we want to now start the generation process, you know, kind of like while the form is being submitted. So we'll take the form inside of here and go to events. Forms in HTML are going to have submit events. So I go on the form event, submit, and I can then generate this and do the API call. So when I click this button, that should be now have an attribute of type submit, and I want to remove the hover because I don't like those. If I click inside of here, it's going to make an API call. I can't see that it's loading. this is why we will need a CSS loader from GitHub. There you go. We're going to copy the span element, wrong project. We're going to paste that inside of here. I'm going to add my style tag inside of here. And then I'm going to take the CSS and we'll be customizing that code a little bit. So paste that inside of here, and we want to make that 18 pixels by 18 pixels, and I'm going to make the border 2 pixels. There you go. I want to take that to the side. I want to do one rem, and then I can just go and wrap the generate song in a div block so I can show and hide it. So inside of here, I want to create a variable called loading, right? And that will be false. Variables can be also used to track state. So I'm going to go in here and I want to show and hide this element if loading equals false. That's true, right? So we're showing that. This thing needs to have a show if loading equals true, meaning while it's loading. And then we want to have a variable inside of here called song. Oh, let's call that song. And then we want to make it a global variable. So we click on FX. We'll add an object inside of here that lets us kind of like break down the data structure. And I'm going to add URL, that's empty, and then show false. There you go. No. False. There you go. Show false. And then what I want to do, if I click on this button here, on click, I need to take the loading step immediately from loading to true. So I need to make this true immediately. Then I need to do the API call. So it starts loading while I click on it. Then when the API is on success, I still want to keep it loading because we only want to remove the loading when we receive a webhook. That's the important part, right? So on click here, but on error, I want to stop loading because that means something went wrong. And we're getting the error through the precondition from Suno. So then I want to do loading false. There you go. So we got the loading false inside of here. And then we have the loading true. So, and then on success, we're actually doing nothing. We're just waiting for that generation. So there we have it. So what we want to do is we want to close this now. And when I click on here, you're going to see that it will be loading, but the API seemed like it was failed because there is a missing parameter of description. Let's see, did I spell that right? Description, right? But it's empty. So if I go inside of here, pop song, and I run this, it'll not stop loading because there was an input. Now, this is starting the process, and it did the API call, and it was already successful. But now our server is waiting for a completed clip, right? So we now want to serve the generated clip back to our front end. Actually, Suno will give us two, but for simplification purposes today, we'll actually be just taking the first one. But we'll see, right? We'll see. So in this example here, what we want to do is we are waiting now, and we actually need to set up WebSockets. So to set up WebSockets, I'm going to take an SDK that I built for Toddle to make that easier. You can also just follow Suno's documentation and do that with custom code. But I'm just going to do WebSockets and get that template from nocodeprocode.com, right? To make that simpler, because that is usually a tedious process to set those things up. So let's just copy the package, right? Wrong project. Just want to paste that inside of here and navigate away before the code is loaded, because that's top secret, right? And then I want to create and set that SDK up. So we want to start the initialization for that WebSocket channel while the page is starting to load. So we set that up here. Now let's assume we have a user logged in, and let's create a variable user, and I'm user1. That's my user ID, right? So now we have user1, but what we now need to do is we need to go to our backend actually and set up WebSocket pops up channels. So I'm going to duplicate that tab, and we'll be going to the main dashboard for Suno here. We'll go on settings, we'll go on real-time settings, we're going to enable real-time. Now we're going to get a connection hash. What we need to do is we gotta go on project, gotta go back to Toddle and put our connection hash in this formula here. Then we're going to add the base URL of our server. That's going to be the URL inside of here that your Suno server is hosted on, right? So that's your Suno URL, because your Suno dashboard is actually hosted on your own server. We'll put that on the base URL. There you go. And then we have the channel. So the channel needs to be registered. So we need to create a new channel called music. And then we need to do nested channel. So music, nested channel, right? This is going to allow us to create multiple channels for multiple users. So not every user gets the same thing sent back. So we got the music channel here. So we can close this. We want to go back to Toddle, and this channel, I'll make a formula for that. Let's go concatenate. I'm going to type in music, and then I'm going to take the user variable with the user ID. So now I got music1, and that's going to give us the channel music1. There you go. That's the channel that we're sending that to. It's just using a slash for the individual ID, so you're sending that to that specific user. Now, we have those real-time data events. For now, I'm just going to do a log to console with the event data just to simplify that a little bit for me. There you go. And then I can call that Suno data callback. But console log is just for debugging. Callback. There you go. And now we got that all set up. So now we should be in the process and getting that properly set up. So here's what we're going to do. Because we only have one user, we can simplify the process, right? When we get a ping inside of here, I'm getting the raw webhook response here, right? So right now I want to kind of like configure this so I can actually work with it in the Suno editor. I want to go to my request history. I want to preferably take the newest one, right? I want to copy that. I want to paste this inside of here, make sure it's formatted. And then I want to add stop and debug so I can work with it. Now we're going to return the webhook. I'm going to run this again. And as you can see, I got my input, I got my model, right? I got my server endpoint here, and I got the lyrics, and I got my audio URL, right? But what you're going to see is we got clips inside of here as an object. That's basically what we want. We also want to look for the status, but the clips thing is a little bit concerning because we do have it as an object structure, which is a terrible way of actually returning that because it won't give us access to kind of like getting that value. So we'll actually need to use some custom code to flatten that object a little bit. But first you want to make sure that we only return it once it's completed. So let's copy that here and let's go inside of here and let's make a conditional, right? We'll take a conditional, and the conditional will be if that process is completed. So we'll paste the payload in here on the webhook variable, and we want to scroll all the way down here to the status, and the status needs to equal completed, right? Completed. We want to save that, and then we want to save this. Now, every code that we run inside of here will be returned only if it's completed. So we want to borrow the code inside of here again, and now we want to send the data back once we fetched that. So inside of here, we're going to create a variable called response, right? And then this response will be the webhook, and we'll paste that inside of here, and we can actually show both of them. But let's just go inside of here, and you see that we have inside of here those clips. That's the output. We got the clips. Actually, let's call that clips. Now, The issue is with the clips, so I can just go inside of here and add a stop and debug under the clips in the appropriate part of the conditional. Let's go to the clips here. If I run this, we can't return it like this. Actually, we could. We could do this on the front end. Actually, we could. We could flatten that on the front end. Probably easier than on the back end, to be honest. Because Xano, we would have to go with JavaScript, and you have to pay for Xano $99 a month. So actually, it's technically all I need. So we just send that to the backend. There you go. Problem solved. So inside of here, we're going to then just send that data back. So the way we send now the data back from the backend to the front end using WebSockets is by using a real-time event. You're actually learning today how to use real-time in Xano. The channel will be music 1. You would probably want to make this individual channel dynamic based on who this thing is related to. But again, since this is just with one user, you're not going to worry about that. But then I can send the clips variable back, and there's no authentication needed. So there we go, and now we're sending clips back. This webhook, because this, what you're returning here, will be sent back to the provider, to the API service, I'm just going to add success inside of here. So now I'm going to save it, I'm going to publish it, and then if I run this, there you go. We should be able actually to receive this, wrong project, inside of our application, because we're sending that to the real-time channel. So if I inspect elements inside of here, take a look at my console, we see the Xano SDK was successfully initialized. And when I now go to my Xano ping and run that thing, take a little bit, I should be seeing this inside of here, which I don't, which is interesting. We'll take a look at that. There you go. Failed to load resources with favicon. The favicon doesn't matter really. So we do have the Xano channel initialized. We're sending this to music 1. That's a channel. We're going to send the data. Let's just send hey back, right? We just want to test that. Let's publish that. Sometimes you need to do a little bit of debugging. So what we want to do is, there you go. Let's inspect elements also inside of here. And let's see if we got something inside of here. No. So what we can do, let's just close that, reload the page, double check our channel and base URL. We may need to add a slash at the end of here to make sure it gets properly initialized. But we do have the connection hash, so it should be fine. Let's take a look at that again. Here you go. Now it doesn't connect. Oh, no, it did connect. So it could actually be that we had to add a slash on there for proper, but it shouldn't, but we'll see. And then we have music 1, right? That's the real-time event we want to send. Let's make sure that is properly put inside of here. There you go. And let's send that request. And let's take a look at the total editor. And we're not getting the response sent back, which is unfortunate. So let's investigate why that is not working, right? So we got real-time data, connection status. So the first thing is we want to console log the connection status event. So let's console log the connection status event. Let's do WebSocket connection. We'll be closing that. And now we just want to make sure that we probably don't want to move around the whole time. So we'll just move them in split screen. And we'll be moving the console down. How do I move the console down? I guess I gotta make my screen a little bit bigger then. There you go. I gotta make this a little bit smaller. There you go. So now I can see, let's try running that. As you can see, it should be successful, but we're not successful in doing that. So I'm sending a real-time event. I'm defining data. let's just move the real-time event outside of here. Let's try that. And then we can try running that. And then I want to kind of like debug this. So let's take a look, because we should be getting the whole time, you see connection connected to the WebSocket. So let's try running this. Let's run that again. And those things should be coming immediately. I'm wondering if Suno changed something. Some fields are nullable. That shouldn't actually be the thing. Let's move that thing up, all the way up here. Let's try running that. Huh, it should be working. Now it's saying disconnected. Now it's saying connected. Let's run that again. And it's not running it. So my assumption is maybe there's something wrong in our real-time setup. Let's take a look at that. We got the connection hash. We got it enabled. It's in beta though. But we have music inside of here. We probably need to allow a few things. Let's do anonymous clients. Let's do presence. Let's just allow everything here. And then let's add history to those so that the channel can actually make proper connections. That could be it. So to make sure that that now gets successfully initialized, let's just reload Suno and Toddle, and then we'll take a look inside of here. You see connection connected. That's good. Let's try running that again. And now we see we get the callback hey. So that was actually the problem, where the permissions of the WebSocket channel were not properly granted. So now I can move it back into place here. I can move the real-time thing down under clips, and I can go in here with clips, and now I should be able to publish this API, by the way, and I should be able to run this again. And now, as you can see, we're getting the data from clips sent back. Beautiful. So that's cool. So now we're getting the callback. So now I actually want to get that in a variable. So let's take a look again at our song. Actually, I want to rename this to be clips. There you go. And this should be an array. And we'll just make that array empty for now, right? Because the clips will be a list of items that we want to render, but we kind of like have to do it a little bit new, a little bit interesting. So let's copy that object, and let's actually see if I did. Yeah, it seems like I copied it properly. Yeah, that's good. We kind of like want to make a formula now. And for that, actually, I'm going to use the new AI formula generator that we have available at NoCode ProCode. Let's say I have an object like this, and I need to turn each clip from the JSON structure into an object in an array. Now I generate the formula, and now it's using AI to generate a Toddle formula that I can paste inside of Toddle to do this for me. So it works beautiful. You see convert object to array. I can copy that formula. I can go to my Toddle project here. Let's actually make this full screen, or close to being full screen. Let's remove that thing in here. I can just paste the formula, and it now built a formula using AI for me. And in this example, it should actually add an unknown formula type. It's still being improved. It's an alpha. But there you go, did 90% of the work. It usually works 100% sometimes. But now, if we go inside of here, we see that we're loading and we're getting our real-time data. Now I want to do an experiment. I want to take this event data, right? And I want to add my AI formula inside of here, convert object to array, right? And we should get a list of clips. So now when we go back to the console, right, and we are going to send another real-time event, we should be able to now have an array of items in here. So let's copy this object here. Let's go to a JSON formatter. And then we can take a look if that structure works. and it did not it did not give me a sufficient result that I was hoping for. But it is cool. It made something with AI, right? So let's take a look what this is actually doing. Unchanged data event. I don't know why it's logging that. But let's copy that. Let's go back inside of here. There you go. I have an object containing multiple. I have an object containing multiple other objects, like an array. And I'll just paste that structure. We can take that structure from the API. Or actually, I can just copy that here. Copy object. Let's go here. Let's paste that. It's null. Damn it. Let's just copy that from Xano. So we'll close that here. We'll go on input. I need to actually only take clips, so let's just remove the formula. Let's go here on the home page, and let's go on load, and let's go on connection status. Will be remove. Oh, actually, we don't have added the formula. We already removed it. So why is that object not working? I probably need to copy it while it's collapsed. Let's try that. Nope. Let's reload the page, and then we'll try again. So let's run that code inside of here. We'll wait while the page is reloading. Arc is actually quite slow. Not suggesting that to use that thing as a browser. It seems actually pretty terrible. But let's reload. There you go. And now what we want to do is we want to send that data again to the front end. We got that in here, right? Let's copy the object, and let's move that into JSON formatter. Arc has been like terrible recently. And what? It did turn into an array. My formula is working. It's just that Arc is trash. So there you go. It does work. It does work. Phew. Thank God. That would have been a terrible advertisement from my AI formula generator. The formula is not even applied. It's that good. Look at that. Okay, that is interesting. Huh. How about we just delete the whole thing and add another one again, and then see if it works and how it works and why it works. So let's just do a log to console, and let's just take the event data here, and then we'll see what's going on, right? Sometimes I've found in total, it may be though an Arc problem, is sometimes code that you have already removed from your project still runs. So that's weird. It does send it like an array right now. That can't be right. So let's just get rid of that formula. Let's just copy it because it seems to work. And let's just make sure to reload the page, because that is weird. It should not do that because our front end is sending it as an object, right? So it does apply that formula somehow. So if I run that here, now it says could not find formula, convert object to array. But I'm not using the formula. You see, inside of here, I'm not using the formula. But it still has the problem of not finding the formula. So there's something wrong with Total here that is breaking, and it's not showing me what's going wrong. So that is something that the Total team definitely has to improve, because that makes it right now pretty unusable. So we need to kind of like hack around with that. You see, it tries to validate the formula even though the code is removed. So that's sometimes the problem with those no-code tools, is you are always at the mercy of kind of like them building those things. And I'll take everything back. I was at the wrong event, so I'm actually right now at the mercy of me doing wrong things. I apologize for that because I was clicking on connection status and not on real-time data, and I got those things mixed up. So it did actually work. That's good. That's good. There you go. We're making progress. So it actually does work. So we're going to go on the home screen. And as you can see, I'm getting the callback, and it's turning this event into an array. So my formula made by AI is working. That's the important thing. So let's copy this with the AI formula, copy, and we'll not be console logging this, but we'll be setting this in our song variable. So I'll go inside of here in the song variable, and I'm going to take the current song variable, and I'm going to set the parameter clips. There you go. And the value will be this formula, event data as an array. So I can render a list of clips. So now, when I will be sending that data from the server, I mean, it's still weird because I'm still running old code, so I think it's like 50-50 weird what we're doing here, but it's still not as weird as I thought. So we'll try running this again. And now inside of our variable here on song, we see we got the clips. Nice. So now what I can do is I just want to go in this form and kind of like build an interface to show the clips. And actually, we're done with this. So we're sending the real-time event so we can actually close the Suno window. There you go. And we can close the console. So now let's go and add a div block inside of here. And let's call that, let's give it a custom HTML attribute of songs. And then inside of here, I'm going to add another div, right? And we're going to repeat this based on the variable song clips. So we're going to render the clips inside of here. And then I'm going to add another div block. That'll be the image. And then I'm going to add an image in that div block so I have more control over it. I'm going to take the source from the item, and I'm going to add image URL. It's going to add the image URL, as you can see right inside of here. I'm going to take the div that holds the image. I'm going to set a height of 3 rem and a width of 3 rem. There you go. So I can have the thumbnails kind of like off that image. I want to have a layout inside of here of clip, and I'm going to make a border of 10 pixels. Beautiful. Now I want to go to the thing holding this. I want to give it a gap of 0.5 rem. There you go. I want to then, actually, I can just then add a top padding here to kind of like make it nicer. So we'll do a top padding of 1 rem. No, 0.5 rem. Looks nicer. There you go. So inside of here, I got those divs. They want to have a padding 2, so 0.5 rem and 0.5 rem. There you go. We got them nicely inside of here. And then I'm going to take a background color. That should be probably 800. We'll make that border 10 pixels. There you go. Maybe 13 pixels. I want to add an outline. No, not an outline. I want to add a border. We want to make that 800. No, that's too light. We're going to make that 700. Oh, wrong color. There you go. Let's take that here, take the border, and we want to make that 800. No, 700. Yes, here you go. So we can see the songs that were generated. Now, I actually want to have a download button here as well. So what we want to do, and a share button. So what we want to do is we want to actually wrap this in another element. And then we want to add another div block in this div block where we wrapped it in. I want to add an H3. Then I want to wrap that in another div block. And in that div block, no, actually this H3 should be in another div block. So I have a div block here, right? And that div block, I need to put that in here. Actually, I don't need another div block. Then I can add a span inside of here. And then I want to take this, the parent here, holding those, making that go to the site, add a 0.75 rem padding, so it has some space, it looks nice, And then I need to go in those here, right? And we need to make sure that it inherits white color. There you go. Now I can go to this text here on FX, take it from the item, and add the title, electric heartbeat. And then I can go inside of here, and then I can go inside of here on the item, and then I can go status, metadata, prompt, stream, history. I can add the duration, right? And then I can do, let's do divide, or we don't have divide. Here you go, divide, here you go. And I'll do it by 60. That'll give us the minutes. We can add round. There you go. There you go. 2 decimals. We're going to add concatenate. I don't think we need to have minutes. Let's do it like that. There you go. So we can kind of like have the duration of the generation. And we want to make that size 14 pixels. We want to make that 16, oh damn it, 16 pixels, 15 pixels. And then we want to take that inside of here, and we want to make that weight 400. There you go. Now we can take that here, make it centered so it aligns nicely. Now we got that here. So now we can just add like a little simple button here. Actually, I'm going to make that actually 14 pixels. Now that I think about it, it's nicer. And then I want to make that 30 pixels. There you go. Now I actually just want to add a download button. So for that, and a play button. Play button would be sufficient. Or actually, making an audio player is quite daunting. How about we just do it that people can click on it and it just downloads the file, so we can make it simpler. So for that, I'll just actually turn this into an A tag, and then I'm going to add an href on there, an href attribute. So that's kind of like a hyperlink. There you go. And then I can just go inside of the item here, and I can go to the audio URL, and then I'm just going to add a download attribute of true. So it's going to force a download on most devices. So that's it. Now we built an AI music generator inside of Toddle and Xano, and I'm just going to now add a placeholder for the description. So we're going to do your song description. Your song description. So now we can open this here, and I can say modern pop song with choir about Toddle, the amazing AI NoCode editor. There you go. Now we're loading it, and we'll wait a little bit till we get a generation. It actually was successful, but we did forget to set one thing up. As you can see, it just populated them here. So I can click inside of here, and I can play the audio. Now we're not going to build an audio player yet, so we just have it just open the URL. There you go. You can also build a nice audio player in Toddle, but I'm too lazy for that. So what we want to do here is we kind of like I want those to animate in. So what we add is we're adding a class here of hidden. There you go. And we're going to add a style for hidden. And here's a little CSS trick. We'll make this overflow clip. And then on hidden, on default, max height 9,999. On hidden, we'll make max height 0 pixels, because we can only animate in pixels, not in from auto. So then we also want to minimize the heading, no padding, right? And then we want to do opacity 0. There you go. Now we want to go on the default style, add a transition of all elements, and now, as you can see, we can animate between those states. So if I remove the hidden class, we see that now we have an animation to have those songs nicely fade in. So for that, I add my hidden class again. And then as you can see, we got the state here. So if I go to song, show needs to equals true. There you go. That's false. So it's hidden. It should be hidden. It should be hidden. But Toddle actually has the problem right now. That's great. So here's the issue with Toddle right now. That's great. So that's false. So actually it needs to equal false. The issue is it turns right now false into undefined, and it turns true into undefined, which is not good. So there's something wrong with their editor. So right now we have show false. It needs to equal false for it to be hidden, but it turns false into undefined. So let's turn it into false. There you go. So that should do the fix. That's how we animate those. Now we want to kind of like remove them and make the UI nicer when we click again. And we want to prevent actually the button from being clicked while it's still loading and kind of like adjust the state. So there are a few things. When we set the data here in the song object, right? We don't just want to set the clips, we also want to set inside of here the path of show to be true, right? So it shows the clips, it shows the audios that we have available. There you go. And then what we also want to do is we want to go now and update the loading state. So inside of here, the loading variable will need to be false. So it stops the loader because it did the generation successful. Then, because we are stopping this effectively, we want to add an attribute here called disabled, and that needs to be based on if it's loading. So right now it's disabled false. If it's loading true, it will be disabled true, so you won't be able to click the element. Now, to visually indicate that, we can add a disabled style inside of Toddle here, and then we can just make the opacity 0.5 so the user can visually see that it is disabled because it's currently loading, as you can see. And to make that transition nicer, we could go on the default style here and add a transition of all properties to kind of like make that load beautiful. There you go. So now, if I open that here, it should look magnificently. Actually, there's one more thing I need to do. Wrong project. Because when I go on the form and submit the form, we need to remove the current songs that are being displayed. Or actually, they could listen to their existing songs while they're generating. So actually, we won't do that. But another thing that we want to do actually, to make it nicer, we can go in and wrap an element here, right? And we can just add an audio player on the page. I think that's going to make it a little bit nicer. I'm not going to make a custom one, so we'll just use the default browser one. But we can just show an audio player here, and we can just kind of like also work with height here. So I can give it a height, a max height of 9,999, right? And then I can add inside of here a class of hidden. There you go, of hidden. And then what we can do is we got it hidden, right? And then on hidden, I'm going to create a style for hidden, and I'm going to make the height, max height, 0 pixels, and I'm going to go inside of here, and because we have a padding here of 1 rem, I need to kind of like adjust the placement a little bit. So I'm going to then on hidden give it a -1 rem top margin, so it actually -1 rem top margin, so it kind of like moves it back in place, so like nothing ever happened. Then I also want to animate it out, so we want to do opacity 0. There you go. So now if I remove the hidden class, just so we can test the animation, we should see that we want to add a transition here probably, right? So we'll add all elements, and then we have a nice animation here. So let's try that. Look at that. There you go. We want to make this also with the 100%. There you go. So now we have that animation with that audio player. We sadly can't adjust the audio player. I am not going to build a custom audio player today, so we have to work with this one today. What I could do though is I can make the background white, right? I can make the background white, so it looks better. I can make it fully white, and then it's still going to look nice because it kind of like looks contemporary now with the black and the white, and it kind of like looks hip, right? And what I can do is I can make this even lighter. I can make that like 700, and now it kind of like looks like a hip. Actually, I can make it white. I can make it maybe gray 50. Yeah. And then I can do this 800. And I could take this and I can make that gray 400. Oh, that's too dark. Gray 200. And now at this point we can just make a whole light UI. It's easier to style the form than the audio player, so there you go. Got that here. Actually, let's make the background gray 50. There you go. And then I can take that and I can add a border here of all gray 200. There you go. And then this will be background white. There you go. That looks really nice. Look at that. Now I got the audio player, and we want to then add the class in here again, classes, right? And I want to show the hidden class on a condition. So that will be song clips. Actually, song clips and the show equals true. Right now it has show true, so it will show it because we have clips available, right? We just haven't added it in the cycle where it actually shows the clips. So now inside of here we need to have a variable called current clip, right? So we can set the clip that is playing. So inside of here we want to have a formula, and the current clip is just the URL. So now we have to go to the A tag. We probably now want to turn that into a button, remove the href attribute, but we want to go and add a click action, and then on click I want to select the clip. So inside of here I can just simply then click on the clip and show it, and actually we can adjust it a little bit. So let's take a look at that. I can go to current clip, and I want to set current clip with the item, and there's no item in this list right now, so we probably want to just go back here and just ping another real-time event so we have something to test with in the editor. There you go. Now we got something. We want to also adjust the color here a little bit so it kind of like matches our branding. And then we can go inside of here, we can make it black. There you go. And we can go inside of here and we can make that gray 300, and then maybe I want to make that actually white. There you go. That looks nice. So we got the UI inside of here. Actually, it should be gray 200. There you go. And then we want to actually go inside of that image here, and that image needs to be width 100%, height 100%, and then this needs to be object fit cover, fill, cover. Interesting. Little bit here with the dark stuff. I think that's maybe just that is a little bit stretched, so let's make that 120% by 120. And then we'll take that and we'll center that. There you go. That looks nice. So now we got those. Now, if I click on those, unclick, I'm going to add the current clip. And it's going to set actually the whole object of the current clip. So that's now going to set the current clip. And then we can just kind of like highlight that with a color based on the current clip that is clicked on. So let's click on this, and we're going to see that we have the current clip variable set. So inside of here, I can go and create a class of selected. There you go. And I can create a style for the selected class. And then I can change the background here to be purple 500. And I can make the text to be purple 800, right? And then I can go with the border, and I can do all, and I can make the border color purple 200, right? And then I need to make that selected class dynamic. So I'm going to take item, ID, and then I'm going to do equals current clip, ID. Not title, ID. There you go. So now we can see we can switch between the clips. There you go. So now actually this audio player needs to have a different condition. It needs to be under the condition if current clip size greater than 0. Right? So if that's greater than 0, true, and we need to add a not because it needs to be in reverse because we're actually hiding it. So there you go. And that's kind of like how we got the audio player. Now we want the audio player to play the actual song. So we'll need to go to the source here, and we need to go to current clip, and we need to go here to, not user ID, we need to go to audio URL. And as you can see, now we can play the song. And then we can change, and as you can see, it resets when we change between the songs, right? Second.
Woke up to neon dreams, city lights know my name, chasing stars with laser beams, love's a wild arcade.
There you go. So it does fully work now. We built an AI SaaS, AI music generator. So now because we're on the channel, I don't want to make a prompt again. Let's just type a prompt for the sake of it, right? We would generate, it would go to the backend. We know that process, it does work. But for the sake of speed and, you know, showing this, I'm just going to trigger a sample webhook response back. And as you can see, we got the response inside of here. I can click inside of here. We got the player.
Woke up to neon dreams, city lights know my name, chasing stars with laser beams, love's a wild arcade game.
And we got the song, and we can switch.
Woke up to neon dreams.
There you go. And we made an AI music generator inside of Tuttle using almost no code. We did a little bit with the curl, but I wouldn't call that code. So there you go. That's what you can do inside of Tuttle. That's how powerful it is. And if you want to learn more, and if you want to build exciting stuff like this, you want to go to NoCodeProCode.com. That's the community you want to be a part of. We have daily beginner office hours to help you make your first steps so you can build exciting stuff like I showed you today in this video. Believe me, the investment is definitely worth the money. So thank you so much for watching, but actually I have to change one thing because you see the font inside of here is not fully white and that doesn't look good. And I want to make it actually weight 400, so it needs to be a little bit smaller, not size, weight 400. Ah, now it looks beautiful. Take a look at that. Nice. There you go. So that's how we're making an AI music generator.
City lights know my name.
Thank you so much for watching, and take a look at NoCodeProCode.com. Bye.